Hi, everyone, and welcome to another riveting episode of
The Dungeon Crashers.
I'm Guy.
And I'm Zapil. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe. And remember to turn on that bell so you don't miss any of our excellent D&D content. Last week we said we were going to continue with our intrepid Spelljammer crew by adding the cocky swashbuckler that will serve as both the cunning ally and comic relief. We are also continuing with the trend of using the new Spelljammer races. This time we will be using the Autognome. Autognomes are sentient constructs similar to Warforged that were created by spacefaring rock gnomes as mechanical servants, but many of them have become self-aware for various reasons and have set out to live independent lives. Some remain members of the gnome communities, but others set out on their own. We resemble a mechanical gnome, so our size is small, but unlike gnomes, our movement speed is 30 feet. Other details of our appearance are up to us as each autognome has a unique design. Some are clanky, cobbled together, and have random cogs and steam pipes. Others are elegant, precise machines, like a fine watch. Regardless of our appearance, we have the same abilities. The first is our armored casing. Our exterior is made of some thin, durable material, usually metal that gives us an armor class of 13, plus our dexterity modifier when not wearing armor or using an ability like an armored defense. Also, our creature type is construct, not humanoid, so this will alter how certain spells affect us, but our next ability, called Healing Machine, makes this work more in our favor. Some healing spells that normally don't affect constructs will help us. These are Cure Wounds and Healing Word, including the mass versions as well as Spare the Dying cantrip. Also, if the Mending cantrip is cast on us, we can spend a hit die to gain that many hit points plus our Constitution modifier, minimum of 1 hit point. We are also built for success, and the number of times per day equal to our proficiency modifier. We can roll a 1d4 whenever we make an attack roll, ability check, or save, and add the number on the dice to our d20 roll. We can do this after we see the d20 roll, but before the DM determines the success. This is a very powerful and useful ability. We also have the feature Specialized Design, which gives us 2 tool proficiencies of our choice. We are taking metalworking tools, so we can do some self-repair, and a gaming set. For our case, it's a deck of cards, which we will discuss more about later on. Lastly, as constructs, we are immune to disease and have resistance to poison damage, advantage on saves against being poisoned or paralyzed, and we don't need to eat, drink, or breathe. We also don't sleep, but we do need to take Century's Rest, where we remain conscious but motionless for 6 hours to gain the benefit of a long rest.
Now, autognomes have a table for how they gained independence from their creator, and the choice we like is that a glitch caused us to forget our programming, and we don't know who created us or where we came from. Our first memory is of being in a tavern washing dishes. The proprietor said you just walked in one day and started cleaning up. They tried to find an owner, but no one knew anything about you, so they let you stay here and work until you came around and started asking questions. Although surprised that we were more than just a useful machine, the barkeeper was kind and let you stay as long as you needed and began paying you a wage for your work beyond just a place to stay, which really only amounted to a corner of the storeroom as you found you didn't need either food or a bed. After living in the inn for a while, you set out to explore the world, but having no real skills that you were aware of, you drifted from place to place doing whatever you could until one time in a tavern you saw a group playing a card game and you realized you knew how to play very well. You joined the game and ended up winning a fair amount of money, enough that some suspected you were cheating, which is when you learned that you were also skilled in sword play as well as running and hiding. As you proceeded on your travels, making a living as a gambler and learning that you do in fact know how to cheat as well, you gained a bit of fortune and enough fame to keep you from staying in one place for too long. Eventually things became a little too hot for you on whatever world or asteroid you were on, and you signed on as a crewman aboard a spelljamming vessel, seeing it as a good way to get away without being noticed. However, you found that you enjoy the sailor's life, seeing new places, meeting new people, and gambling in ports where no one has heard of you. And for background, we're taking the charlatan background. It gives the skills of sleight of hand and deception, and proficiency with disguise and a forgery kit. How useful the disguise kit will be depends on how common autognomes are in the area you are trying to use it in, but you can always use it on your allies, and one never knows when forging some documents can come in handy. Charlatans have a favorite scheme, and ours is the first one on the list. We cheat at games of chance. We also have a second identity, complete with documents, acquaintances, and disguises, that let you assume that identity again. How useful this is depends on how common autognomes are. Also, the background allows us to forge official papers if we have seen the type before, and personal letters if we've seen the handwriting we're trying to copy.
Autognomes get the flexible ability scores that wizards seem to be using with all the new races, which are 3+1 ability boosts that can be put wherever we like, but no more than 2 in a single ability. We put an 8 on strength. We are small and not built for manual labor. We put 15 on dexterity, making it 16 with one of our bonuses. We make our living using sleight of hand and fighting with a rapier. We put a 13 on constitution, making it 14 with our second bonus. We may be small, but we are made out of metal. We put a 10 on intelligence and wisdom. We would like more, but don't want a negative, and we'll use skill proficiencies to get what we need from those abilities. And lastly, we put a 15 on charisma, making it 16 with our last racial bonus. Deception and persuasion are essential for our trade, and later on it will be our casting stat as well. At first level, we start as rogue, and we get 4 skills from their list. We want perception and insight because we need to be aware of our surroundings and to know when someone is cheating at cards and to tell if they know that we are cheating. We want persuasion to talk our way out of situations that we would prefer not to fight our way out of. And last skill could be either investigation or acrobatics. Acrobatics would be a very useful because getting grappled will mess up our combat style, but investigation will allow us to notice clues, traps, secret doors, and compartments, research information, and many other things that we will want to do that our average intelligence will need some help doing. It could go either way, but we are taking investigation. We also gain proficiency with simple weapons, hand crossbows, rapiers, long swords, and short swords. We are also proficient with thieves' tools, as well as intelligence and dexterity saving throws. Our starting equipment will be a rapier and a few daggers, a burglar's pack, a set of clothes, thieves' tools, and disguises for our alternate identities, as well as our disguise and forgery kits. From our background, we also have a deck of marked cards, and presumably a deck of honest cards as well. We gain expertise in 2 skills, and we want deception and insight. These skills are useful in all sorts of situations and will often allow us to win at cards without cheating. We also get sneak attack, allowing us to add 1d6 to the damage we make with an attack against a creature if we have advantage on the attack or if an ally is within 5 feet of it. We must use a finesse or ranged weapon to make this attack. We also learn Thieves' Cant, which is a secret language composed of code words, slang, and references that allow us to communicate with others who speak it by hiding our true meaning within a seemingly normal conversation. We also know a set of symbols that can identify thieves' hangouts, fences, thieves' guilds' headquarters, and short messages saying whether the people around are dangerous or if they are easy marks, or even friendlies who will help hide a thief on the run.
And at second level, a new facet of our programming is revealed, and our clockwork nature allows us to draw power from the plane of Mechanus or some similar source, and we become a clockwork soul sorcerer. At first level sorcerer, we get spellcasting, gaining 4 cantrips from the sorcerer list. We want Ray of Frost for a range attack, and Booming Blade to help us in melee. The first will slow enemies down so they have a harder time catching us, and the second will punish them for trying to chase us at all. We then want Friends for those times when our natural charm isn't quite doing the trick. And lastly, Minor Illusion because it's useful in so many situations. Need a place to hide? Stand in the corner and create an illusion of a bookshelf in front of you. Need a distraction? Create the sound of gunfire outside the window. The possibilities are limited only by our considerable imagination. We get 2 first level spell slots and learn 2 first level spells. We want Silvery Barbs, which is an enchantment that allows us to use our reaction to cause someone who succeeds on a d20 roll to re-roll the dice, and they must use the new roll. And we can then give ourselves or an ally advantage on the next d20 roll they make. We also want Sleep, which as the name suggests, puts enemies to sleep. It is limited by the hit points of the subject, so it loses usefulness at higher levels, but early on it is extremely powerful, and we can retrain it later. From Clockwork Soul, we gain 2 spells that we learn in addition to the ones from our level, and we gain these when we learn a new level of spells, up to 5th level spells. At first, we gain Alarm and Protection from Good and Evil. When we gain a level in Sorcerer, we can retrain one of these for a different spell that can be any abjuration or transmutation spell from the Sorcerer, Wizard, or Warlock lists, and we will want to do so. These are both good spells, but don't necessarily suit our character concept. The other Sorcerer subclass that gives free spells known, the Aberrant Mind, would give us spells more suited to our character, but also involves Lovecraftian horror and tentacles, which don't suit us at all. The Clockwork Soul, however, seems perfect for a Clockwork Gnome. Our spellcasting ability is Charisma, and our spell save DC is 8 plus our Charisma modifier and our proficiency bonus. We're also able to use an Arcane Focus as a material component for our Sorcerer spells. From Clockwork Soul, we gain the ability Restore Balance. Whenever a creature is going to make a roll with advantage or disadvantage, we can use our reaction to remove the advantage or disadvantage, and we can do this a number of times per day equal to our proficiency bonus. And at 3rd level, we take 2nd level Sorcerer, gaining a Font of Magic, which are sorcery points that we can use to gain extra spell slots. Later on, we will get other ways to use these. We have 2 for now and gain another one every Sorcerer level. We gain a 3rd 1st level spell slot and learn another 1st level spell. We want Charm Person for when we really need someone to be our friend for an hour anyway. We can also retrain one of our Clockwork spells, and we're going to trade Alarm for the Shield spell.
At 4th level, we're taking 2nd level of Rogue, getting Cunning Action, allowing us to dash, disengage, or hide as a bonus action. Disengaging is a useful combat style, making it harder for our enemies to attack us and possibly provoke attacks of opportunities from our allies if they wish to follow us. This can be particularly powerful combined with Booming Blade, and there is no reason we shouldn't be casting Booming Blade instead of an attack action unless we are trying to be quiet. Dashing and hiding are also great uses of a bonus action because discretion is the better part of valor, and sometimes it is wisest to just run away and hide. At 5th level, we'll be taking 3rd level of Rogue, getting our Roguish Archetype, which will be Swashbuckler. We are a charming rascal that lives by our wits and a quick blade. Our tongue is as sharp as our blade, and we have clever jests and insults for our enemies. We gain the ability Fancy Footwork, which lets us move easily and gracefully in combat. During our turn, we can make a melee attack against a creature. That creature can't make attacks of opportunity against us until the end of our turn. This also works nicely with Booming Blade and frees up our bonus action for other things, provided we are only engaged with a single enemy. We also gain Rakish Audacity. We get to add our Charisma modifier to our initiative, ensuring that we get the drop on our foes, and we get another way to use our sneak attack. We can use our sneak attack even if we don't have advantage on the attack roll, if we are within 5 feet of the target and no other creatures are within 5 feet of us. We can't use this if we have a disadvantage on the roll, but our Restore Balance ability from Clockwork Soul lets us remove disadvantage from ourselves if we need to. Our sneak attack improves to 2d6 at this level. There is also an optional ability at this level called Steady Aim that we usually use in our game that lets us use a bonus action to gain advantage on an attack we make during our current turn. We can only use this if we haven't moved during the turn, and afterwards our speed becomes 0. We like to be mobile, so not always something that we want to be doing, but can be great when we need it. At 6th level, we're taking 4th level of Rogue, getting an ability boost, and it's a tough call. Both Charisma and Dexterity are very important to us, but we think Dexterity is giving us a bit more value, so we're going to increase it to 18. At 7th level, we take 5th level of Rogue. Our sneak attack improves to 3d6, and our cantrips improve. Now our Booming Blade deals a d8 to the target, and the damage they get from moving increases to 2d8. So despite not having extra attack, our damage output is as good or better as a martial character. We also get Uncanny Dodge, which allows us to use our reaction to take half damage from an attack that hits us. Now along with Shield, we have good protection in combat, but are still best using Fancy Footwork and Uncanny Dodge to make it difficult for the enemy to attack us in the first place.
And at 8th level, we're going to take 3rd level Sorcerer, gaining Meta Magic. Meta Magic lets us alter our spells by spending sorcery points. We can choose 2 Meta Magic options, and we want Subtle Spell, which lets us cast spells without verbal or somatic components. This will let us cast things like Friends and Charm Person without our target or any observers seeing us cast it. This makes those kind of spells much more effective. It can also be useful if we are silenced, restrained, or have our hands full. Our second Meta Magic is Heighten Spell. This gives creatures disadvantage on saves versus our spell. This is great for spells that have big impact when the target fails a save, such as with charms, holds, illusions, etc. But it's also nice for spells that the opponent gets a save to avoid damage. We also get access to 2nd level spells and have 2 2nd level spell slots and an additional 1st level slot. From Clockwork Soul, we get the spells Aid and Lesser Restoration. We also can learn a 2nd level spell, and we want Mirror Image, which is a fantastic defensive spell that does not require concentration. And at 9th level, we take 4th level Sorcerer, gaining an ability boost or feat, and we're going to increase our Charisma this time, making it 18. We also gain another 2nd level spell slot, learn another spell, and gain another cantrip. For the cantrip, we have 2 good choices. Mage Hand can let us do all sorts of useful shenanigans, creating distractions, pilfering small items, and can help by springing some traps for us. Mending, however, can be used to give us some healing by letting us spend a hit dice. Healing with a cantrip is just amazing, even if it is limited by our hit dice. In Spelljammer, mending is also useful because it can help repair ships. And for our spell, we want Suggestion. This is not only a good spell in its own right, it is also a great spell to heighten with metamagic or with subtle spell. Unlike some charms, there is no drawback to using this in combat, but the suggestion must be worded in such a way that it seems reasonable. So depending on your DM, asking a creature to turn on its allies or throw down its weapons might not work.
Yeah.
However, phrased properly, asking them to surrender or retreat should work. Also, depending on the situation, it could get the creature to switch sides if it is phrased in a way that would seem reasonable. The drawback to this spell, it puts a lot of discretion in the hands of the DM about what will work. The upside is that with creative use, it can accomplish things far beyond one would expect from a second level spell. The duration is 8 hours, which is fantastic, but it does require concentration and ends if we or our allies damage it. Unlike some charms, this doesn't say the target knows you use magic on it, or that it becomes hostile. So if the suggestion was reasonable and benefited the subject, and we treated them well, the subject might even become friendly to us and might join us in exchange for pay or a share of treasure. We can also retrain a spell known, and one of our spells from Clockwork Soul. Sleep has likely become useless at this point, so getting something like Chaos Bolt or Chromatic Orb might be a good idea. And both of the spells we get from Clockwork Soul are good, but it might be worth trading one of them for Alter Self. There are many situations where it can be nice to appear as something other than an auto-gnome, and there will be times when gaining a swim speed or natural weapons could come in really handy. At 10th level we take 6th level Rogue, getting expertise and 2 more skills. We want Persuasion to better get through situations with our wits and charm instead of resorting to violence. For the second, it depends on how things are going in our campaign. If our DM is giving us lots of roleplay options and we get to play cards a lot, consider Sleight of Hand to help us be better at palming cards and other methods of cheating. If we encounter lots of traps, then Perception or Investigation are better choices. And if our roleplay situations involve a lot of diplomacy or dealing with merchants, Expertise and Insight could allow us to better know when someone is lying and get clues how to get an advantage. This is also useful to our gambling, making us very difficult to bluff.
Yeah. At 11th level, we take 7th level of Rogue, getting Evasion. When we make a Dexterity save that lets us take half damage, on a success we take 0, and we only take half even if we fail. Not only is this powerful, it suits our roleplay style. Nothing is cooler than rolling under the Dragon's Breath weapon or jumping behind the table to avoid the Wizard's Fireball. Our sneak attack also improves to 4d6, and our cantrips improve, so Booming Blade now deals 2d8 extra damage to the target, and the damage they take from moving is 3d8, so our damage is keeping pace with fighters who are getting their 3rd attack per round. At 12th level, we'll be taking 8th level of Rogue, getting an ability boost, and it is again a toss-up between Dexterity and Charisma. But again, we are going with Dexterity, capping it at 20. With our armor coating, this will make our armor class 18 without magic, which will be on par with most martial characters while still looking stylish. At 13th level, we take 9th level of Rogue, and from Swashbuckler, we gain Panache, which is one of our favorite class abilities. We gain the ability to make a persuasion check against a creature's insight as long as the creature can hear us and understand our language. If the check succeeds, the creature is hostile to us and has disadvantage attacking creatures other than us and can't make attacks of opportunity against anyone but us. Combined with fancy footwork and uncanny dodge, we can make it choose between uselessly chasing us around the battlefield or trying to fight our allies with disadvantage. This lasts for 1 minute or until one of our allies attacks it or targets it with a spell, or we get more than 60 feet away from it. This doesn't use concentration or otherwise say it can only affect one creature, so we could technically have all the enemies running after us while our allies pick them apart. Also, using this with Booming Blade makes it even more painful for them to try to chase us. If this succeeds and the subject isn't hostile to us, it becomes charmed by us for 1 minute and regards us as a friendly acquaintance. Combined with our excellent persuasion and deception, we can get people to help us in all sorts of situations. This ends if we or one of our allies do anything harmful to it. This doesn't say anything about the creature knowing we charmed it or it becomes hostile, so with good roleplay there is no reason the creature won't remain friendly and continue helping us as long as it isn't against its interest to do so. Our sneak attack also improves to 5d6 here, making us a truly stellar duelist. At 14th level, we take 10th level of Rogue for another ability boost, and we will cap our Charisma at 20 to make better use of Panache and to improve our spell attacks and save DCs.
And at 15th level, we take 5th level of Sorcerer. There is an optional ability found in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything that we use in our campaign called Magical Guidance. Whenever we fail an ability check, we can spend 1 sorcery point to re-roll the d20, using the new roll, possibly getting a success. This is particularly powerful with Panache, but will be good for any number of things, including winning at cards both fairly and otherwise. We also gain access to 3rd level spells, gain 2 3rd level spell slots, and can learn another spell, and we want Enemies Abound. It is an enchantment that makes the subject unable to tell friend from foe, so it attacks whatever creature is closest to it. If 2 creatures are equally close, it chooses one at random, and with fancy footwork and uncanny dodge, you can make sure the closest enemy isn't you. This is best when the enemy has a lot of allies near it, and our allies can either also keep away from the creature, or there's someone like a barbarian or paladin who wants the enemy attacking them instead of their more vulnerable allies.
Yeah.
This applies to spell attacks and other abilities as well as just melee. If the creature takes damage, it can repeat the saving throw. From Clockwork Soul, we learn Dispel Magic and Protection from Energy. And we can retrain a spell from Clockwork Soul, and if we find we aren't getting much use out of Protection from Good and Evil, we could trade it for Absorb Elements, which would give us another excellent defensive reaction.
Yeah.
And at 16th level, we take 6th level Sorcerer, and from Clockwork Soul, we gain the ability Bastion of Law, which lets us spend 1 to 5 sorcery points to create a ward around ourselves or another creature within 30 feet that lasts until we finish a long rest. The ward gives the subject a pool of d8s equal to the number of sorcery points spent, and when the warded creature takes damage, they can spend a number of those dice, roll them, and reduce the damage by the amount shown on the dice. Unless I have a vulnerable friend to protect, I would use this on myself at the start of each day. Spending these can help stop us from dropping in combat or losing concentration on a spell. Using these wisely could give us incredible staying power in fights. We also gain another 3rd level spell slot and can learn another spell, and we want Blink, which does not require concentration and essentially gives us a 50-50 chance to be invulnerable when it isn't our turn. This is a selfish spell in that it guarantees that enemies will be attacking our allies instead of us, but considering our fighting style, our allies should be used to that by now. We can also retrain a spell from Clockwork Sorcerer, and we want to trade Protection from Energy for Counterspell, which will allow us to potentially shut down enemy spellcasters. But remember that this will be unreliable if we're using Blink, as we might be phased out when the enemy is casting a spell.
Yeah. At 17th level, we'll be taking 11th level of Rogue, gaining Reliable Talent. Whenever we make a proficiency check, we can treat a roll of 9 or less as a 10. This means the lowest we can get on a persuasion check is 19, meaning our panache is going to be working very consistently. We are also going to be nearly impossible to beat in a game of cards. Our sneak attack improves again to 66, and our cantrips improve as well. Booming Blade now does 3d8 extra thunder damage to the target and 4d8 to them if they move. This means if we get a sneak attack, we will deal 1d8 with our rapier, plus 66 sneak attack, plus 3d8 Booming Blade, plus 5 for our dexterity for an average of 44 damage with our cantrip. While certain melee characters will be doing more with their extra attack, especially paladins with smite, we are not badly outclassed in melee even for a 17th level character. At 18th level, we'll be taking 12th level of Rogue for another ability boost, and we want more Constitution, so we will make our 16. Also, ability scores are pretty flexible with this build, so we could have increased Constitution earlier instead of Dexterity or Charisma, in which case we can cap off that ability now. At 19th level, we're taking 7th level of Sorcerer, and we get access to 4th level spells and gain a 4th level spell slot, and can learn another spell, and we want Greater Invisibility, which will make us a demon in combat, giving us advantage on attacking creatures that can't see us, and giving creatures that can't see us disadvantage to attack us, even if they can figure out where we are. It is also useful for sneaking around to spy on people or to rob them. This is another spell where creativity makes it powerful beyond its level. From Clockwork Soul, we learn Freedom of Movement and Summon Construct. Freedom of Movement is a nice spell when a situation comes up that it is useful, but this could overcome our weaknesses to being grappled or otherwise restrained. Summon Construct is a pretty powerful summons, getting us a creature with solid armor class, hit points, and attack. The stone version of the construct also has the ability allowing it to slow creatures that come within 10 feet of it, which can really help your party gain control of a battle. We can also retrain a spell at this level, and we should train our charm person for charm monster, giving us a wider variety of targets. At 20th level, we take 8th level of Sorcerer for our last ability boost, and we are going to use it to make our Constitution 18. We could instead take the tough feat for more hit points, but as a caster who relies on concentration and doesn't have proficiency with con saves, we think boosting Constitution is a better option. We get a second 4th level spell slot and can learn another spell, and we want Ralitham's Psychic Lance, which gives us a powerful attack dealing psychic damage and can incapacitate the target until the start of our next turn. Incapacitating an enemy, even for a turn, can often turn a battle in favor for our party.
I really think this captures the essence of a spacefaring swashbuckler. Part conman, part scoundrel, and sometimes the dashing hero who saves the day. I see elements of Doc Holliday, Jack Sparrow, and Han Solo all kind of mixed up in here.
Yeah.
Tell us what you think in the comments below, along with any suggestions or build ideas. Also, let us know what you think of what we've been doing over the last few weeks, building an adventuring party one character at a time. I find it to be a lot of fun and tells a bit of a story. Next, we're going to build the ship's navigator and pilot, which is going to give Zapil a chance to build the Circle of Stars droid he's been wanting to make, using a very unusual race. So please join us for that, and until next time, cheers!
Cheers!